Hello everybody, welcome back to another weekly market review for F45trading.com. This week we're going to be talking about Monday, May 18th to Friday, May 22nd. So, time of this recording, I ended up, it's actually a long weekend where I'm at, so I decided to do the week review on Monday, New York Open, rather than Sunday evening when I normally do it, just because it was a very long weekend with the family. So apologize for the delays in getting this out to you guys, but you're not really missing a whole bunch anyway. We're just kind of more of the same. This is the US dollar here that I've got in front of me, and you can see we're just still banging around in this tight little range that it's been in for the past well, we're coming up on 2 months now. It's the actually exactly 2 months almost. You can see the low in here was made on the 27th or 30th of March, and basically all of April and all of May thus far has been spent in this range. So I was hoping that we were going to start coming out of this on this run up into here. It was looking fairly positive. And you can see now Monday we've shot back down again. I'm curious to find out how much lower they want to get on this run down here. If this is just a short-lived run back down to run last Friday and Thursday's lows out and then reverse and run higher. Or if we want to actually take all of these lows out here and then rebalance back into this little this daily consolidation back in here. So there are a couple of options. But ultimately, it's just, more of the same consolidating trading. Selling the highs and buying the lows, basically. You can see they just ran below these lows down here and then rejected quite strongly about 2 weeks ago. So the dollar is still not going anywhere. And I can kind of see why. I mean, there's a lot of uncertainty going on right now. Obviously the Fed is printing a ton of money, printing it like it's going out of style. And, the stock markets are currently rallying. I'll show you the S&P here real quick. You can see the S&P, especially Monday, at the time of this recording here, would have had a big move higher from last week when prices were falling down. We just ran that low there, and there was immediate reaction higher. So very impressive to see. That's what it looks like on a daily there. So, I mean, there's a very good chance that all of this money that the Fed is printing, it's going right back in the stock market and it's supporting price. We could see them run price higher. I don't know how much higher. We have a gap on the day all the way up here that they could certainly want to look at taking price. So I'll highlight that there. That's a very long ways away, of course. It would probably take them a better part of a couple of months to get up into that range there. There's a lot of talk, though, from several economists that the U.S. is going to go into a massive recession. And obviously, globally, I think we're going to see that if we haven't already seen it. A lot of the numbers for the second quarter, obviously, which is the time that most of North America went into the quarantine lockdown, all the businesses shut down and everything. A lot of that economic data and numbers and everything are going to be starting to spill out into July and August. We can see the ramifications of that, and I think that is probably when we're going to see the majority of sort of the panic selling in some of the stock markets, and we could see price move down a lot lower. So we'll kind of wait and see how that happens. But I think until some of these economic numbers come out in the next couple of months, we could see a continuation of this going sideways. They may take the highs, they may take the lows, but until we break out of this range here, we're just going to have to expect more of the same. So anyway, just really quickly on the economic calendar for this week, we've got a lot of medium impact news events. Nothing for Monday really to speak of. Where I'm at in Canada here, we are in a bank holiday today, so it's a day off. And then we've got monetary policy meeting for Aussie, but pretty much Monday's a quiet day. Tuesday we have Fed Chair Powell testifying. We've got some building permits, nothing major to speak of on Tuesday, pretty quiet. Wednesday we've got the Bank of England Governor Bailey speaking, and then FOMC meeting minutes, and again, CPI for Canadian dollar and GBP, but nothing on Wednesday to speak of. We have some French and German holidays, and then flash services for high impact for GBP on Thursday. And pay attention to this here, obviously, for Thursday for US dollar. That would be the biggest news on the week, I think. And then flash manufacturing PMI. And then we have Powell speaking late in the day on Thursday. So Thursday could be fairly eventful with the economic news event, with the unemployment claims coming out and the flash manufacturing. And then Friday we get into retail sales for GBP, flash sales for Euro, German flash manufacturing, and on and on and on, all throughout the New York Open for Friday. And then we have ECB monetary policy meeting accounts to wrap up the day. So a fairly quiet day economic data speaking wise. Like I say, just be mindful of the stuff on Thursday that you're going to want to watch out for. So, okay, here we go back to the dollar. Like I say, looking to see how deep Monday runs. And we could see a Monday, Tuesday that could run out these lows here. And rebalance. I'd like to see what happens when they get back down into the consolidation. Like I said, it's kind of a daily consolidation rate in here on that candle. It dropped down to an hourly, and you can see it a little bit better. This area rate in here, looking to see if they want to come all the way back down into there, or if price fails, I'd be looking for them to fail before they go down into here. So possibly coming down to this tiny little consolidation area rate in here, and you'll see that like on a 15-minute chart. I can show you this little area rate in here. It'd be interesting to see what happens when they come down into there. Do they fail to go lower at that consolidation, or do we want to keep jamming lower? And in which case, like I say, I'll be looking to see what happens when they run back into here. If they want to keep going, which could be the name of the game, then we could get under these lows under here. So they already did run under there once, so I would expect them to probably leave that area alone for the next little while. But I want to see what happens, like I say, when it gets down to here, and then if it wants to get underneath these lows to rebalance and then shoot higher. I think they're going to eventually take out these highs and these lows, all of these lows, I believe. But again, like I say, just for the next little while, we could just be banging around in here. And you can see that the range is even getting smaller and smaller and smaller and smaller, especially within the past couple of weeks right in here. So US dollar really isn't giving us a real good indication of directional bias. It's just more so consolidating trading in and out of the markets, 20, 30, 40 pips at a time, and away you go. EurUsd experiencing exactly that. We saw pretty tight ranges, especially, like I say, in the past 2 weeks here. Euro really hasn't wanted to go anywhere. I think we're probably going to see this high taken out on Euro. What I want to see, though, is if they want to take out this high here and then come back in and rebalance at this consolidation area rate in there. So we'll see what they want to do on Euro. But so far, starting out of the gate, fairly nice on Monday. Again, do we come up into here, reject, and then go lower? I think the US dollar, I think we're going to keep continuing to trickle higher. And this mainly, like I say, only because of the amount of stimulus that's being put into the economy. I think it's just sort of naturally sort of dragging everything up, but it's very, very reluctant to do so. If that does happen, the euro should continue to push lower. So watch for that. We could see these lows run out this week, but obviously we got to make the turn eventually somewhere in here. So watch this high here, and then watch that high rate in there for a possible turn, and then a run lower on euro. GBP is a little bit of a different story with this run up last week. And let me put the day dividers on so you can kind of see it a little bit better. So this last week here, we obviously had this big run up into here. Monday, Tuesday setting the low, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. We obviously had a nice run up on the dollar. Cable obviously saw a very big sell-off, and mainly because of Euro GBP. that guy was pushing up higher. So if this is pushing higher, GbpUsd would be pushing lower, and they're obviously consolidating EurUsd. So I've talked about this lots before in the past. Again, just you can go back to some of my previous recordings, and you can see me talking about that relationship a little more in depth. I'm not going to go into it here, but you can see this, what the slide on GbpUsd was due to. So we came in, swung under that low, swung under this low, and so far Monday, like I say, we've seen a pretty big rejection and a rebalance higher. I'd like to see them come a bit lower and fill in this little range in here and come back and bounce back off of this candle high. If we can get that, I think this entire range is going to be complete, and we may see price start to move higher on cable here. And I eventually want them to get above these equal highs here, and ultimately I'd love to see them get up to here. But, again, we'll see what happens. There's some unprecedented stuff going on in the markets right now in currencies. These economies are printing money at faster rates than has ever happened in the history of some of these currencies. And that does not do very well for the valuation. So we could see a lot of these currencies just keep getting dwindled down lower and lower and lower and lower. So, in normal times, we would see areas like this run out very, very easily, and areas like that run out easily. But as I say, it's unprecedented times right now. So, expect the unexpected, really, I guess is all I can say about that. There is a little area in here on GBP that I like, right here between these areas, a little bit of a gap right there. I think there's a very strong chance I could shoot it up into there, and then possibly see price roll over down lower into this range here. I'd like to see if they want to do that, maybe into today. We'll see where today ends, maybe into Tuesday, and then roll over. But price could just stagnate right in here and then roll over as well too. I'm not very bullish on GBP until this range has been completed lower. I think there's a little more downside to go. So we'll see where they want to end up. But my target would be on the week, like I say, potentially this high in here. And only because mainly Euro GBP, I think we have more upside. We have a little bit of a gap here on Euro GBP that we could want to shoot up into. So if this pair does go higher, it will pull cable lower. Okay, so watch for that. Keep your eyes on this one here. We could probably rebalance down to here, which would push GbpUsd up into that range in there. Let me just zoom that in a little bit, up into that range. You can see it better on the 4-hour. Right there, that would take Euro GBP down to here, and then we could, like I say, see some support in this area, and then a run back up, which would then push GBP lower. So could be some opportunity there. So keep your eyes on that. UsCad, exactly the same as what the dollar's doing, just sitting sideways. So I don't really have a whole lot to talk about here, other than look what they're doing. They're not taking any of the highs. You see, they made a high, a high, a high. A high here, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high, lower high. They're just not running any of the highs here. We had one run lower here, and then price has basically just made higher lows, higher lows, higher lows. Now we're here on Monday again, so it's just kind of more of the same. So I don't really have anything on UsCad other than I just wanted to point that out. I mean, we could shoot up higher, we could shoot up lower, or shoot down lower. I just don't have any type of directional bias on this pair right now, so I'm going to have to just sit and wait for more information for this price to break loose out of this range, because this is not good trading range right now on markets like these here, guys. Australian dollar, again, more of the same, right? We've got a real theme happening here. Price was in a really, really nice trend right here, and then just the past 2 weeks we've sort of broken out of that trend and have been chopping sideways. So we've got a couple of equal lows that I think they're going to run down here. We've got equal highs right above here, so the sky's the limit. I mean, we could just come up into where we're at right now and start to roll over and go back down under these lows here, which I think is my personal preference. If the US dollar decides to turn around and start running for these highs here, I think Aussie would easily shoot below these lows here, and maybe even possibly these lows under here and rebalance into this consolidation level right there. So watch for that. But until that US dollar starts to make a move somewhere, we're just going to keep banging around here in sideways. And that's it for foreign currency. I just want to talk really quick about gold. You can see gold here. We made a nice push up to run those highs on the daily here last week, and so far we've sold off quite a bit. Now I'd like to see them come back down right into this area right here. So I think we're going to see it come back down, rebalance this week, down into this range here, and then I'd like to see them gather some support and then make another push higher. So I'm going to have my eye on gold in here this week here, and that level comes in at about 1720, 1719, somewhere in this range here. I think they could get down to. So watch that area on gold, because I think we're going to see higher prices moving forward. Crude oil was just bucking the trend. Now, this was very impressive to see. And even on Monday, I haven't looked at crude oil yet. Look at Monday's range on crude oil. We've made another $2.50 range on crude oil. We're up into the 30s now on crude light. So I didn't expect to see that at all. I was wrong on crude oil. I wanted to just see price come above these areas here and then roll over. And I've had several areas lower under here, and a rebalance possibly down here that I'd like to see it get taken out. But they're just not looking at that at all. I think there's a lot of long bullish traders on crude oil that they start to see the return of some of the economies globally, and they're jumping all over it. So very impressive rally on crude oil. So I don't have anything to talk about on crude oil yet because it hasn't rebalanced. So once we take out these lows here and we see price jam back down into here, then we can look at something. But until then, I'm going to hold off on crude oil. We've got a big gap right in here. They may just be heading straight for that gap. You know, we could just keep seeing, and look at this thing's just been doing, just straight up. We really hammered in this range all last week, and then finally Thursday, Friday broke out, and Monday is following suit. So if it wants to keep doing that, you know, I would expect them then to just run up and fill this gap into here. So watch for that on crude oil. And then finally S&P, very similar again. You know, we're seeing them consolidate, but last Wednesday came in, made the low, and then Thursday shot down and straight back up Friday and straight up for Monday. So we've got a lot of areas above this swing high up in here that they could want to shoot price. And again, as they're printing money, like I mentioned before, it could bolster the bulls on the S&P. So we could see them above these highs here in the next couple of weeks. So watch for that as well too. But that's it, guys. Like I say, keep your ranges fairly tight for the next little while until the US dollar tries to break out of this range and we get some sort of directional bias happening. It's a lot easier to trade in those markets, so don't go crazy and blowing your accounts in this stuff here. Get in 20, 30 pips, 40 pips if you can, and be done. And wait for the next setup to occur because markets are pretty ugly right now. So anyway, thanks for watching, guys. I'm going to end it here, and I'll be back for another weekly recorded view next Sunday, as always. And all of our members, I will talk to you guys in the chat room tomorrow. Thanks for watching.